Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to decode the super precise language used in military and aeronautical operations, a world where literally every single word can make a difference.
So let's kick things off with a question that seems simple, right? But it actually opens up this whole universe built on precision. We're going to get to the answer, but it all comes down to why this specific language isn't just jargon. It's a critical tool for getting things done safely and effectively.
All right, let's start where most of the action begins, on the ground. The language of land warfare is built on a set of core terms that have been sharpened and perfected over, well, centuries of conflict.
Okay, the ambush. It's a classic tactical move, and it's about way more than just hiding and waiting. It's really about the genius of using surprise and the terrain itself to get a massive advantage. This idea is as old as fighting itself, and it just goes to show you that a good position and perfect timing can be way more powerful than just raw force.
Now, a siege is pretty much the polar opposite of an ambush. This is not a quick, lightning-fast attack. Nope, this is the long game. It's a strategy of surrounding your enemy, cutting them off from supplies and help, and just slowly, methodically wearing them down.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because it shows you the actual geometry of a battle. See how the fire is aimed down the long part of the enemy unit? That's called enfilade fire. And for a soldier, it's the tactical jackpot. It means almost every shot is going to be effective. It just proves that positioning is everything.
And here are a few other core words from the playbook. I want you to notice the small but absolutely vital differences here, like between a withdrawal and a retreat. One is planned, it's controlled. The other is usually urgent and forced. In the middle of an operation, knowing which word to use tells you a ton about the situation in a split second. And of course, you need the right tools for the job. This table breaks down what's known as ordnance really nicely. It's not just a jumble of weapons, it's a whole system of tools, and each one is designed for a very specific effect. From something up close and personal, like an edged weapon, all the way to an explosive that affects a whole area. And this brings us right back to our first question. The key difference here is all about scale. In military speak, a rifle is a personal weapon that one soldier carries. A gun, on the other hand, is a much, much bigger piece of artillery that takes a whole crew to operate. Calling a rifle a gun in the military is kind of like calling your car a bus. I mean, yeah, they both have wheels, but in a world where being precise can save lives, that's a distinction you have to get right. Okay, so we've covered the ground. Now let's take this whole idea of precision and launch it into the third dimension, the air. As you can imagine, aviation needs its own special dictionary to manage the crazy complexity of flying. You can think of an airbase as a city that's been built just for aircraft. It's got a lot of moving parts, but these four areas are the absolute heart of the operation. The flow of planes from the parking spot, the apron, down the taxiway and onto the runway is like a carefully choreographed ballet, and it's all directed from the control tower. You know, every single plane with fixed wings, doesn't matter if it's a huge cargo plane or a nimble fighter jet, is made from these same basic building blocks. You got the fuselage, that's the main body. You've got the wings, which give it lift, the cockpit where the pilots work, the engines for power, and of course, the tail, which keeps it stable. Understanding this is like step one in understanding how flight even works. But with helicopters, we kind of throw out the rule book. Instead of moving a wing through the air to get lift, you're spinning a wing, the rotor blades, to move the air. It's that fundamental difference that gives helicopters their awesome ability to just hover in one spot or zip around in tight spaces. Landing a plane isn't as simple as just, pointing it at the ground and hoping for the best. Pilots follow this really strict box-shaped path in the sky called the pattern. Each leg of this pattern is a specific step that helps line up all the aircraft, manage their speed and height, and make sure every single landing is as safe and predictable as possible. So you've got all this stuff happening on the ground, all these aircraft in the air, sometimes from different countries. How on earth do you coordinate all of it? Well, you do it with a universal language that was designed from the ground up for one thing, absolute clarity. And that's radio communication. The first building block is the phonetic alphabet. Why? Because when you're listening to a crackly radio, B, D, P, and T can all sound exactly the same. But Bravo, Delta, Papa, and Tango, you can't mix those up. It just gets rid of any chance for a disastrous mistake. And it's the exact same principle for numbers. 5 and 9 can sound way too similar, but 5 and 9er, no chance of mixing those up. Saying 3 as tree and 4 as fower just adds another layer of safety, making sure critical info like coordinates or altitudes get heard right the first time every time. When you first get on the radio, you have to know how well the other person can hear you. This simple 5-point scale is like a report card for your signal. It grades you on 2 things, how loud you are and how clear you are. The A+, the gold standard that everyone is aiming for, is 5 by 5. It just means loud and clear. And here's what that sounds like in the real world. This is a standard radio check. It's like a quick, formal handshake that just confirms the communication line is solid before you start passing any important information. It's a simple little thing, but it is so, so vital. These are called procedure words, or pro words, and they are the ultimate verbal shortcuts. Each one packs an entire sentence of meaning into a single word. And check out the difference between Roger and Wilco. Roger just means, yep, I heard you. But Wilco means, I heard you and I'm going to do what you said. That's a huge distinction. Okay, so with this super precise language locked in, the final step is to organize the information itself into standard formats. This just makes sure that when you're reporting under pressure, nothing important gets missed. The Salute report is a perfect example of this. It's an acronym that basically works as a mental checklist. By running through size, activity, location, unit, time, and equipment, a soldier can send a complete, short, and useful report without even having to think about what to include. It's brilliant. And finally, how do you make sure that everybody's when is the same? The date-time group. By setting all times to one single time zone, called Zulu, which is the same as GMT, it just removes any possible confusion. An event that happened at 1500 Zulu happened at that exact same moment for everyone. Doesn't matter if they're in Europe, Asia, or on a ship in the middle of the ocean. And that kind of brings us to a final thought. In our age of AI and drones and all this incredible tech, is it possible that the most critical piece of technology on the battlefield is still just a simple, clear word? After what we've seen, I think the answer is a huge yes. This precise language is the software that makes all the hardware, from a soldier's rifle to a fighter jet, actually work together. It's the invisible foundation for communication, coordination, and in the end, for safety.